To start swing trading. Once again, I'm sorry for being out yesterday. I'm back at it right here in the seat and ready to talk about the swings. And it was a tough day indeed for my swing trades. We'll talk all about them, what got hit, what didn't, what am I back into. This is going to be a conversation today of how we got to really kind of catch when we want to get back into names, right? And I think the important part there is not necessarily that, you can't get back into names, but we need to go about it in the right ways, right? Today, I actually went back into some names in more of the day trading mentality. And then I ended up switching into the swing as I got good profits. We'll talk a little bit about these. Let's get right to the action. Right now, the SPY is bouncing around here. We'll see what happens to it. We're right now at the 389, now starting to come down after starting to get a nice little uptick at the open. We're right back almost to the open. We're actually below it now. If you could see us 390s, we're in the 389s, but really close to that pre-market action before we got the CPI number, and definitely started seeing a pullback on certain regional banks. We'll talk a little bit about that situation. But let's just take a look at what's going on right now. I'm going to review a little bit more about the trades that are going on. I am also looking to take some more trades during the show. So if you guys see me kind of switch it up really quickly, that's of course because I'm looking to make a trade. You guys out there, do you guys like swing trading? That's what it's all about. Smash the like button. We actually did a poll on Benzinga. I don't know if you guys saw that, but we did a poll about which do you prefer, right? Which do you prefer, guys? Do you prefer swing trading or day trading? You guys in the chat, let them know. The swing trading won 62.1% here. And you guys see there was a lot of views on this, about 448 votes there, but swing trading, right? That's what we're here for. Let's talk all about it. We're going to get into the action. And of course, I'll let you guys know this morning, it was a tough one. As I came in, oil was actually bouncing back. And I can show you guys that with, of course, maybe taking a look at WTI. We can go ahead and take a look at that in just 1 second. But we are getting some downside action in WTI towards the end. The day started with a bounce, right? It was starting to bounce, get back up there. But somewhere around like, let's say midday, we just started declining in oil, especially WTI front month. We even got down there into the 70s. I've been looking to see if this would crack 72. And that was the whole reason I was short on the oils to begin with. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's get into some of these. I still have some of these, and they're moving right now, team. So let's take a look right now. Energy was actually leading the day. Look at this turnaround here, team. This will explain it too, right? From around 12:15, 12 o'clock, boom, downturn in the oils. And it was very difficult because I got stopped out today on Valero. Actually, as it was coming up there towards the 133.78, we got stopped out. So that was a little frustrating to me on Valero. And I got stopped out in Chevron on this move back up, but it was a very small cut. I got back in the name today for a day trade, knocked it back down towards here, and was able to keep a little bit of this, have an entry at 161.95. That's right off of this 162 VWAP rejection. That's when I started nailing it on it, team, around this 1:45, 2 p.m. Boom, right back down there. Took some profits into the first move because it was a day trade. Now keeping the rest of the position to swing it because we're seeing the takedown. Oxy, very similar, right? Today on Oxy, I got stopped out on this one towards 60.50s. I was in here close to 60. As it came up to 60.50, I got out of the name, and wouldn't you know it, I got back in the name at 60.70, a little bit higher than the entry that I had before. Now it's all the way right back down there to 59.40s. So we were able to take some profits into the day trading size there for Oxy. Kept a little bit now to keep swinging it on the downside. So this is just how quickly you have to be kind of flexible, right, with your trade, right? You got to swing, guys. And I took my swing again, and I think it's very important to always understand our risk to reward, right? by understanding my risk to reward, I got out of the trade and was able to get back in the trade because it made sense in that realm, right? If we're going to be able to get out of a trade for, let's say, that 50-cent loss, look for the gainers to be kind of that $2 range, right? That's what matters, risk to reward. We'll see if the Oxy can make that move now, especially as we start pulling back down on the futures. That's really what I'm looking at, the crude. Because if we can get into the 60 handles and really start coming down back into the 60s, back to the maybe even the 58 handle, I'll be looking for this to kind of get the takedown. We'll see what happens there. And as EKS is talking crude down big here, we'll find out if the oil stocks continue to follow to the downside. And this is how you got to be flexible, right? I was talking about this with PreMarket Prep's Dennis Dick. He likes Oxy to the upside. Can't blame him for that outlook. But as this popped back up, I'm just glad I kept to my risk to reward, didn't fight it, didn't like it all the way back there to 61.60s and then got out, right? Was able to get back in the name. And I think that is definitely sometimes the best move. And it's difficult to get back into trades. I'll tell you, especially when we get stopped out, when there's just seems like there's no reason why oil was bouncing back today. I feel like it was the market, right? The market was driving it just as high. If you compare, that SPY chart with, let's say, that Oxy chart, it's very similar to when that turned around, you started seeing oil come right back to the downside. So we'll see what happens on these. Still deep into the green on Oxy, deep into the green on Chevron here. We'll find out. I mean, if we can get it there towards, let's say, 58.70s, I'm taking some profits on Oxy, because then that's right back down to the risk and reward and taking the reward that I'm intending into the plan attack, right? We'll find out if we can get below into the 58.70s. And that's right over here, right down here. So we're going to put a line there. We'll come back to it if we can get towards that profit take at 58.70. We're at 59.30s. It can be in a hurry. Let's find out. Let's keep going. The SPY is dropping fast. Let's go to the banks. The banks is the worry right now, right? Well, look how JPM is shaking a little bit of that worry today. Let's go to some different banks and take a look there. Goldman Sachs still coming down there. Bank of America still coming down. So it doesn't look like all the banks are free of the damage, right? We did even see Citi. This one stopped me out, team, and a little frustrated on Citi because I was up. I was able to take some profits yesterday on this down move, but I gave those same profits right back, and it turned into a break-even kind of trade on Citigroup. So now I'm thinking, do I attack it again? I'm going to hang off of the sideline on the sidelines this time, but we'll find out what happens there. And just to mention that, Oxy making that move already towards 59. If it breaks 59, I got to try to get out some at there towards the 58.70s. So let's see if we get that cut down right now as we're getting a hard takedown. Let's go to the regional 2. I don't want to just miss kind of the global banks, right? We can go to those regional banks, take a look how some of these are performing. FRC coming down there towards 39.14s. It got up there to 50s multiple times. I hope some people were able to take their profits and run, as you're seeing the downturn come right back into these names. Zion was down there yesterday towards 22.55. We're down to 29.15 and been dropping fast since the open. Essentially, this is down about 22%. So just be careful out there, team, as we're seeing those regional banks really get the turn right back to the downside. So be careful out there. Smash the like if you guys enjoying Start Swing Trading. And I hope that you guys hit the share button and let all the swing traders know this is where you guys want to be. All right, let's keep going. You guys throw up stocks that you guys are swing trading right now, or maybe just some setups that you guys saw making a big move. Oil signaling depression. We'll find out, Beans. It might just be beans and rice moving forward, my friend. All right, sell them when you can, not when you have them to. Agree. We'll find out here if we finally get that cut through continuation. Taking a look at some other ones. Western Alliance, right? This is coming right back down. This was at $10 yesterday. Made the move towards the open above towards 40. Now back down to 26.60. So we'll see what happens there. I was also looking at FAZ all throughout the day, thinking, man, I should I kind of get this financial bear, get right back up there? Looks like some of the concerns are coming back in, but really, I haven't heard too many concerns out there. Maybe like a news update about what's going on. Really not seeing that. But if you see this LOB, look where the close are going, right? I think that's an important thing to start paying attention. Where are the close going? And on, let's say, this FRC, we closed yesterday at 36.05. Will we close to 36.05 today? If we close below that, watch out. We could be right back below yesterday's closing price. And this could have just been a trick to the upside. Always, always staying flexible. Let's keep it going, team. Smash it up. All right, now we're starting to cut through on Oxy at 59. Going to look to see if I can get that next move into the 80s to 70s. We'll see what happens now. Chevron also coming lower and fast there. So that's another one that I need to pay attention to take some profits. What we're going to do on this one is if it can go to 157 today, I'll take profits, some continued profits on Chevron. I really like that Chevron. I think it can really crack. Had a lot of resistance up there where it cracked today from. So I'm going to give it a little chance to really start coming back down, especially through that 155. Comes through the 155. We'll be looking great in this one. All right, now Oxy at 159, right on the dot there. Will we get the continuation? We hit 159. Let's see if we get to the 58.70s and take a little bit more. Essentially still on the day trade action, but don't mind taking some profits and paying ourselves a little bit. You can't get mad about taking profits, right? We'll find out if this is able to hit here and we're able to get into the 70s. All right, I'll put that order out just in case we get that quick downside action there. I'm going to go back to the other action. Take a look, of course, at the other stocks that are starting to change. Look how technology is starting to actually get back towards red on the day. Let's start looking at our major names. Microsoft starting to sell off now as it was really strong. Apple back down to 150. Not good closing action here. But of course, the SPY is pulling back just as fast. So when the SPY pulls back, of course, you're going to start seeing these tech names pull back also. Tesla, will Tesla come falling down here? This is one that I'm actually thinking about maybe taking a swing short here. But the swing short would be off that 180.20 areas towards that 183s. It's a little tough. It's a little tough here to come after it. I'll tell you right now, I'm probably not going to take the shot today just because I don't know if we were going to really get continued downside action, right? If I felt leaning any type of way for the overall market, I'd probably take my shot. Right now, I'm a little bit iffy on that Tesla, but it looks interesting off of that 180 kind of 20 areas. As long as it kind of cracks through there, comes back towards 175 towards the close, we're looking decent there. We'll find out. All right, catching up out there. Market going red, said it's been. Yeah, it's fast. NVIDIA, Lori's asking about. Let's go to the tech names, right? We were just talking about some tech names. We were talking a little bit about Tesla here. Let's go to the semiconductor. And you can see here how we've been kind of lifting, holding, lifting, holding. We're trying to make a breakout in the industry overall, but haven't truly gotten that continued next level. And where did this really kind of start going sideways? Well, it started going sideways in early February. So we really haven't broken out of this. You can see here multiple times that the industry, and this is my industry outlook, that it's trying to get to that 2,700 there. We'll look to see if some of these can get the lift. Let's look at some of the leading strength in this space, right? In this space, you got AMD pretty strong right now. Why is it pretty strong? RSI, daily RSI to 72. AVGO, that looks pretty strong. LSCC, Intel. But of course, you were asking about NVIDIA. NVIDIA's at that 66. But one thing that you clearly start seeing is what? That it's holding that pullback into the gap, right? Into this space right here. You're holding that 227, 286 area. So now that you kind of pushed off of the 230 area, I would look for maybe pullbacks into that area, but I wouldn't want to see 230s break. So maybe I'm looking for support to hold around 227.80s, 230s hold now, and give you that next expansion move back through 240s. One thing to note, though, and you can clearly see it here, how much resistance we've run into when we get to that 240s. Let's see if we come back for that 240 and actually take it out this time on the next drive. That's what I'd be looking for on NVIDIA. We'll see if we're able to get that next push through the 240s. And of course, this will also depend more on if there's more concern about the banks. If there is, I think tech gets hit. But if there isn't, then you start seeing more people focused on the Fed and how the outlook, that pivot, is closer. So that should give the lift towards those tech names. And there you guys see it. The SPY still just coming down fast here, guys. 387.27. Definitely not a good looking close. Even JPM starting to come back down here as it was coming up. Now you're starting to get the crack on that. Will you start seeing all these banks let go towards the close? That is not a good outlook that we're seeing right now, as you're seeing Goldman Sachs come a little lower. Will the buy the dippers come in now? Of course, there isn't the same concerns, but is there more exposure, more contagion that we even know about? Those are all questions that are valid. All right, let's keep going. We'll take a look at some different stocks here. Dead cat bounces everywhere today. Haven't feel for any tricks today. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one for these kind of bounces, right? Because it looked very strong. Now, just getting hit right back to the downside. Fed will be forced to cut rates. I highly doubt that, man. Unless the market's just really, really kind of getting cracked. It still hasn't really come down even through the lows, right? I mean, overall, we're not back here towards even concern area. This is not even a concern area to me. This December area, the 380s, it's more if we crack 360s. We cracked 360s before that Fed meeting. Yeah, you could have the Fed probably maybe just completely pull it off and maybe even pivot. But unless you're seeing complete destruction in the market, which I don't think we're seeing. I mean, technically, we didn't go down too far off of this news. It's been about 4% on the SPY. All right, we'll see what else is going on. Haha, perma bacon. Who knows, man? Let's take a look at some different stocks here. What is still leading? What isn't? Because things are definitely turning around. Everything was into the green, and you can see a lot of green here, right? But from the open, there's not much into the green. Healthcare is actually down big from the open. Well, not too big. That's down 1.1. Volume is down big in healthcare names. Real estate is down big. Financial services, of course, we've been talking about that. Energy, we know how that kind of flipped there. Industrials continuing to get hit now. Now this trade doesn't look even safe. The deer trade, the cat trade, right? The industrial trade where it was low PEs, but stocks that were going higher. Even Paccar, this one's up a little bit, but I think this is even setting up for opportunity for a short. We'll see what happens there. I'm not going to go shorting Paccar because I've actually made money on the long side on that one. I'd get frustrated shorting that one right now, but going to keep watching the market to see if we can continue a downturn. And if that happens, yeah, we can keep watching names like Paccar start to break. All right, let's keep going to some different names. I did see that you guys wanted to talk about, what was it here? Let me catch back. Copper and palladium. I got you easy. Let's take a look there. Let's go to basic materials. Let's go to those names that did well in basic materials. Then we'll go into copper and different names. Of course, the silver and gold. Silver taking the lead today in that one. Doesn't look too bad here. EXK starting to get a little bit of a lift above 3. AG getting some lift. PAAS. And what I liked about this one is that it did pull back, giving you an opportunity, right? Did come right back down to the support. You can see this on the hourly, right back to support around the 1660s, back up to 17. So not a little bad move there with some silver names. Let's take a look at gold today. GOLD hanging out sideways here at the 17. AU continuing higher. Man, really frustrated about selling this one at the 17s. It looks like it wants to continue going. AU is one that I've seen trend in the past. And you guys seen, I've traded this before. We'll find out if this can really actually move here. AU. All right, out of the gold trade, metals and minerals after that, and we can take a look at some copper names right now. But metals and minerals not doing the best here. Just trying to hang in there. We'll see what happens to these names. There are some of them that are up, like Galto, but this is a silver name. SGML, lithium name. This is the one that was mentioned with Tesla, right? It's interesting how much volume has come in, and this has stayed quiet. This is an actually truly interesting move here, team. I would really keep this on my radar, especially if Tesla actually does make a move for this. I don't know if there's been updates, if Tesla has mentioned anything else on SGML, but I can tell you right now, this is one that I don't want to take my eyes off of. I'm going to actually set an alert to see if we get an alert above 35.27s. This is one that I think if for any reason there's an update with Tesla, it could get moving. That's for sure. All right, let's go to copper here. Let's take a look there. Copper, aluminum. We can take a look. Copper pulling back. SCCO, FCX pulling back. This was really strong for a while, but has just fallen off the tape. And it seems like that's how copper does a lot. You get these big up moves, then all of a sudden long downturn. Big up moves, long downturn. So unless it gets back there to 40 or even 39, I think this is still on a downturn, but we'll have to find out. SCCO has been holding on. If there's one that's hanging on, it's this one. And at least I like that I know my out, and it's way closer, right? 71s, 70. Well, it's right now to 73s out the gates. Yesterday, it was down below that 71. So we'll look to see if it can recover, get back up through 75. If it does get back through 75, we can maybe take out the 78s. But if it comes back through 71, be careful. That's about the third time that you're visiting down there, and you could take it out on the next time down. I can't eat on a 2.7% gain. Yeah, you can, Beans. Just depends on how much money you got, my friend. That's it. There's nothing wrong with 2.75%. I'm up like what? Almost 2% on that Oxy already. There's nothing wrong with 2% a day, man. You'd be surprised what 2% a day can mean for you. Would it be possible to explain what a swing trade is for those that may be new to this? Says Bruce. Yeah, of course. So swing trading is necessarily a lot of the times like kind of really dependent more on what type of trader are you, right? Are you the type of trader that you're like part-time into the markets? Because I feel like there's different types of swing trading, right? There's trend trading, there's breakout trading, there's also position trading, which could be considered kind of more in swing trading. But swing trading overall is taking a position and swinging it for, let's say, maybe you're getting it at the low and you're trying to drive it to the resistance, right? Normally, this requires that overnight action, right? At least an overnight action for it to be considered a swing trade, right? Let's say swing from today's close to swing to tomorrow's open. That was the original terminology, the swing over, right? Or buying it off the swing low. So when the stock goes low on the hourly and then selling it at the swing high, right? Well, that's ways to look at it, right? Now, time frames can change. I could be trading in days. Some can be trading in weeks. Some could be trading in months. I think the important thing here is that you can lower your share size and look for a bigger expansion move. What does that do? It helps us get around some of the volatility in the market so we don't just continue to get stopped out like you can in day trading. Day trading, yeah, you can have plenty of stop outs in one day, especially if you're keeping your risk to reward tight. But if you can expand that risk to reward and, of course, bring the share size down with it so that you can expand that risk, well, then that's going to give us an advantage that we don't need to be so perfectly timing the market. And that's really what swing trading is all about. It's not about timing the markets. It's more about using some daily levels, making sure that you understand where the stock looks like it's heading. And then that gives us ability to target different areas, right? Let's say if I thought this was going to be a bullish looking chart, it is a bullish looking chart. I want to get as close to me. I like to buy off the support. So I want to get as close to that 71 as possible to ride it back to that 75. We'll see what happens here in SCCO. All right, let's get back to the SPY. Let's take a look at what's going on now. Now we're finally getting a little bit of a bounce. Was not able to take some more profits there in Oxy, but going to swing it towards tomorrow. We'll see what happens there in Oxy. Was able to take some profits earlier. And of course, towards the 5870s, I got no problem taking some profits. We'll see what happens there. Right now at 59.52. And you guys know how I feel about this oil trade. We'll really kind of see what happens. Really, what got me interested and more interested in this was the XLE and how that looks. Really, that looks to me like it wants to fall off the tape. And 83s today, using that as resistance, going to really focus on that moving forward for that 83 to somewhat hold as resistance moving on out. And then really start seeing the takedown. Can we get back into the 70s for the XLE? That can easily happen. And when that happens, you start to break the long-term trend. And if we break the long-term trend, we can start looking for that to actually start playing for resistance in the oil names. All right, but that's going to do it for at least my oil outlook. Going to continue to watch to see what happens in some of these. Let's go back really quickly to the banks. I know a lot of people are just keeping up with the banks in this environment. I know I'm watching like JPM as the strongest one. Bank of America still weak on the day. Wells Fargo starting to make its way back. Will the SPY give us a little bit of a drive maybe here towards 390 towards the close? We'll find out. All right, let's get out of this. I can go ahead and bring on my guest today. We'll save a little bit of time towards the end of the show for you guys to do a little bit of ticker time. So if you guys want to check out some stocks, check out some names, keep them to us. We'll go to them in a sec. I do got, of course, Option Mike in the back. We'll go ahead and bring them on. Like always, team, smash the like. Let's go ahead and get into some options action. All right, how we doing, Option Mike? How we doing today?
Mitch, how are you, man?
Hey, well, at least it's not the end of the world. We don't got to hide underneath our desk. No. And I was looking for a bigger mattress to hide my money, but I don't think I'm going to need one. So
probably not. Not unless you're buying long-term bonds and not hedging.
Yeah, I looked for mattresses under JP Morgan's website, but they weren't selling any, so I didn't take it. But let's get into the action. Let's talk about what's really going on. Today, it looks like we got a little bit of an afternoon downturn. But do you feel like this pullback is one that, potentially could be bought, at least in the overall market?
Not sure yet, Mitch. Honest answer, I think this is a time to be extra careful.
I agree with you, Option Mike. I mean, I think that's what's the important thing of always. I was saying it yesterday. I felt like yesterday, a lot of people were thinking like this is the day to like make like a killing. I was more like in capital preservation mode.
Yesterday I had a blowout day yesterday, but I was also trading at 6 o'clock on the futures on Sunday night.
Hey, that's what matters. And that's how trading can be, right? I mean, that's really how it can be.
And it was also just about looking at the market yesterday, understanding that we were, if you go back, you look at how far down when we opened we were. You have to go back and look back at the Ukraine war, similar type, very extended to the downside. Not the place to be looking for shorts. It was a place to look for longs. Today, I thought was going to be much tougher with that CPI number coming in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad number. It was just in line. I mean, it's, it is what it is. It's pretty much in line, core slightly hotter. But I think here you got to be careful. The SPY ripped up to the 200-day. Well, it didn't rip, and that was the other thing today. It was just weird today. Yes, today there was no option flow. We was no real momentum. It was a slog, a slow grind to get up to the 200-day on the SPY.
Agreed.
And then we got there and we tagged it and we came right off of it. And then we had the news of the Russian plane taking, purposely forcing down a U.S. drone. But for me, I think the biggest worry today was that the banks gapped up big, and then they, the old gap and crap, right? We gapped up, and the first candles were big time down, and none of them really took back those candles.
Yeah, and it's truly impressive. I don't know if you took some swings in those regionals, but man, I hope that some people took at least some profits because man, if you didn't take the profits and you woke up this morning thinking that, well, I hit the home run, maybe today while it closed, it doesn't look as good, right? I mean, definitely starting to see a little bit of a turnaround in those. What you think about those, Option Mike?
I think you avoid them all unless you have very good knowledge of them. And if you really want to play the regional banks, I would just go very simply and buy KRE, which is the
Yeah.
regional bank ETF. And because I think there's just too much unknown in these banks right now, there's too much angst in them. So if you buy an ETF, you're getting a broad coverage of all of them. If you buy an individual one and you're wrong and there's exposure or something, the next thing you know, you're back in a situation like Silicon Valley, and you're probably looking at 100% loss if you're sitting in the stock on something like that. I just think too much unknown there. They're all getting downgrades. S&P's coming in and downgrading their lines of credit. I don't think this is systemic, and I've been saying that with my room right since last week, that I don't think this is a problem that most of the banks have. I think this was a very poorly managed bank that did something very, very stupid,
Yeah.
and they're paying the price for it. And then unfortunately, all their employees and many of the people that were holding their money, they're paying the price for it.
I agree with that too. I think that I mean, when we think about it, it doesn't seem like we've gotten any mention of concern from any of the kind of the main banks here. If you wanted to look at Bank of America, and then I also think like you're seeing like Goldman Sachs take hit on this, right? Like
Right.
I wouldn't think that Goldman Sachs is in any concern right now, at least in my eyes.
But there's
Um,
other things going on here too as well. You
there
have
is.
the yield inversion on the yield curve, and the banks, they just can't make money. The spreads are too tight right now, right? So they can't. This is also going on at the same time as with all this. And
Yeah.
this was just the catalyst, right? So everybody gets caught up in something like this. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. This just brought back fears of 2008, in my opinion. And I'm not an expert but this is not 2008. 2008 was a systemic problem where all of them were leveraged out. The
Yeah.
big banks, they're all being stress tested, right? This bank was not being stress tested because they stayed under that $250 billion threshold. Okay. For me, I would be, if I was going to start buying banks and I didn't want to play at the regionals, I would be looking at the best in breed, JP Morgan. That one I
Yeah.
traded this week, and I'm keep looking at it here. Nice bounce here, trying to come back on. This was just so overdone last Friday. I traded last Friday, whichever it was, overdone. Part of it, they got caught up with this and the Jamie Dimon news as well, that they were being subpoenaed to turn over documents in relation to Epstein. So that's just not a good. That's just another very bad situation. Say what you want. And the other one is I keep looking at, and I didn't take it today, although I wanted to, but it gapped up too much with Schwab. I
Mm-hmm.
can't figure out why Schwab is getting wrecked this much today, and yet this week.
Yeah.
I hear some people out there saying, "Well, their deposits aren't great." Well, they came out yesterday and defended themselves, and their deposits look really good, and the liquidity looked good. And then some people saying, "Oh, they have exposure to crypto because they bought TD Ameritrade and they're trying to bring crypto into their app." But that hasn't happened yet, so there is no exposure to crypto at this point.
Yeah, I would think so too. It definitely didn't call for the decline that we saw. That's for sure.
Right.
That's definitely. I mean, it was down at one point like almost 40%. So,
Right. We came
uh,
all the way down under 40 into the 45 area, right? Before it
yeah,
tailed off.
yeah, that's impressive. I mean, and I also saw that it was the CEO. I think Insider Buy.
He
He
came
stepped
out.
up to the plate.
Yep. This morning he came out and he said, "I bought 50,000 shares." I mean, and that's what a good CEO is going to do.
That's what exactly, especially in a situation like this,
Yep.
right? If he's willing to put his money up for it, well,
Correct.
that can give us a lot more confidence as investors, especially when he's stepping up to the plate down there, And if for him, I thought he'd probably thinking like, man, I'm getting this at a discount. I'm getting this back at July prices, right?
And he
I
and he
mean,
knows. I mean, he knows what his books look like. They know what their exposures. I mean, I cannot imagine that every bank did not have a fire drill this weekend, and they went through everything they had and what was going on to say, are we good, are we not good, and to understand that what was going on there.
yeah.
And I'm sure they know exactly where they're at. But
Now,
go ahead.
now, of course, the big thing from here will be just what does the Fed react with this, right? And how are you kind of approaching that, Mike? What do you think about the Fed, at least, just overall?
I think the Fed, so the Fed's in their blackout period, so they haven't been able to say anything. But
Hmm.
haven't is a strong word. They've chosen not to come in and do an emergency announcement. They've chosen not to take specific emergency action around rates and around their asset selling, right? What they could have. They could have come out yesterday or Friday and said, we're taking emergency action over the weekend or whatever, and saying we're immediately suspending asset sales. And just to let you know that we're watching this closely, we have our meeting in a week and a half, and we'll reevaluate all this with regard to our rate hikes. They haven't done that yet. I think they're between a rock and a hard place. Inflation is still very high, but this is the immediate crisis. So if they think that this is resolved, I think they're going to come back and they're going to they're going to continue with at least a 0.25 basis point hike, and they're going to continue to sell their assets. If they think that this risk can go further,
Yeah.
or they think they're breaking something, then they may hold off. And by the way, I've heard people blaming the Fed for this, and I'm not a fan of this Fed.
Yeah.
I'm really not. They were slow to react. I talked to this team multiple times, but this was bad management, and they did not manage the risk on their investments, and that's why we're here. It's
Exactly.
not because of the Fed.
Yeah, and exactly. And I feel like I try to show both sides of that,
Yeah,
right? I mean, the Fed pulled us out of the pandemic. You can't really say that they put us in this too.
right.
If you want one side, you gotta be okay with the other side, right?
Yeah.
They got to be able to raise rates if they're going to bring rates to zero, right? I mean, that's normal economics, right? But let's get into some trade ideas. Let's take a look at what you're seeing out there. What kind of ideas do you got for us today?
So that's my thought on the banks. We went over. I think we covered those pretty good here at this
Yeah,
point. I continue to stay focused on tech. I didn't
yeah.
take it today, but Meta. I mean, again, I've talked to you
Oh,
this
that
a
was
couple
pretty.
times.
That was pretty.
I've been talking to you guys since off the 21
Yeah,
day. That was
we
the
talked
trade.
about this.
Yesterday again hit the 21 day right off of it, and here it is almost back to the earnings high. I mean, again, I can't tell you guys what to do, but in a market like this, you got to be looking for what names are trading stronger than the market. They're showing a lot of relative strength. If you want to go dumpster diving, you could have a huge win. You could also get yourself absolutely obliterated. And that's so I prefer to try them after names like this today. So the room we were trading Meta in there today. And then the semis remain strong, specifically NVIDIA and AMD are still rocking. And, look at NVIDIA. It's, you got the gap
Yeah.
sitting up here still at 253. I know I sound like a broken record, but look at these charts. These are the ones that are screaming to me. I look great. If I can take out 245, I can run. AMD today. I mean, I was looking at AMD today. That opening 5 minute candle was out of this world. I mean, they came into it screaming for it and went raging in the first 5 minutes today.
Yeah.
Almost at the breakout point here on this one as well, up at the 89.40 area. I guess people want to go dumpster diving. And for me right now, the banks are out of play. Energy just seems like a very weak trade. Crude getting absolutely smashed today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got to go where the strength is. And I feel like that's an important play there. And I feel like, at least since that Dan Loeb mentioned from AMD, that's been doing pretty good.
It's been hot, right? It's been
Yeah.
a hot name. Meta today, another 10,000 layoffs, 5,000 jobs not being hired now. I mean, that's going on. Apple today too. I mean, we talked about these. It's they're hiding right now in big cap tech. We talked about
Yeah.
this in our room. Microsoft, you got a little gap up here, right? You can see this moves all the way up to 261.90. It kissed it today at 260.12 and then pulled out of it. But again, these are better looking charts, guys. And
Yeah.
this is what I'm looking at. It's and then people say, well, I want to trade, I don't know, pick your name. I want to trade coin. Yeah, coin had a nice move. I can't quite figure out what's going on. I'm not a crypto guy. So I can't figure out what's going on in Bitcoin. But if you want to trade coin, to me, it's got to take out 70. That's kind of the level where it's kind of been stuck for this thing to get moving. Otherwise, it remains in this choppy range. And again, I don't understand why Bitcoin was up so much the last couple of days. Some people saying that maybe they think that everybody should stop using banks for transactions and go to this. I'm like, come on, please, please. This is not going
That's
to happen.
I was messing with that. I was like, so what do I do? Just go to the bank, take out my money, put it to Bitcoin, hide it in a cold wallet? I
There
don't
you
think
go.
that one's happening anytime soon. So
Yeah,
uh, that's just what it is right now. But I like how you're pointing out these mega caps, right? Especially mega tech, because they've have been strong. And one number that I've been calling forever on Google's 90. It just seems like there's somebody there big, and they love it at 90, because it just seems like every time where it came off of that level, And there's like those daily levels where we just bounce from there. We went to 95. We come right back
Yep.
Monday, 89.94. Somebody's there at 90, baby. They like it down there.
Well,
We'll
I mean,
see.
it's beaten up on a lot of fear,
Yeah.
and if the fear doesn't come true, it's going to rally. 95, by the way, is the level where it has to clear. You call that out right there. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
trading it right now, you're not touching it till it takes out 95 or there's news in there. And I don't mean just break above it for a minute or two. You want to see volume. You want to see it happen, them coming
Mm-hmm.
for it. But yeah, you're right. Charts like this look good. And then there's other things, yeah, there are some little growth names like Roblex here looks amazing. It broke out. I've been waiting for this to break 42. Well, my alert never went off this morning 'cause I wasn't paying attention to the damn thing because I'm like, oh, how good could that be? Well, it gapped and went. It gapped and took off. I'm like, it gapped over my alert. It happens, right? My alert didn't trigger. But nice move
Yeah.
here on Roblex today, pushing up. This one looks like it wants to come back up to 46 if you like these little names. I don't know what's driving Roblex here. But be it as may, they seem to want some risk here associated with stuff like this.
Definitely, of course, those will be all under the lovely ARKK, and we'll see how Kathy can do. What do you think about some of those Kathy names? I mean, there's like Zoom, Roku. What do you think about those? Those are a
So
little bit tough.
I think Roku is a great product, and they're not a bad company, but they've been this whole downtrend we've been stuck in for a while now is because they're trying to change how they do business and they're losing a lot of
Hmm.
money. And they're probably going to need to raise money again at some point, although they are sitting on like 1.2, 1.3 billion in cash, which is not bad. But that's a tough place to be in. And for me, if you can't take out the 200-day and hold it, here was your earnings move and it came right back under it. It's still to me, this name is still in the penalty box until it can actually get over the 200-day without earnings, when it actually can do that and hold it. Um, Go ahead. Zoom to me is I don't understand what to do with this name anymore. It's not a
Yeah,
growth name.
that one's even difficult. I mean, their earnings weren't the worst, at least I can say that. But we'll
They're
see what happens
profitable.
there.
They're a good company. But they're now a Cisco,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
They have no growth left anymore. Their growth is trying to take customers from Microsoft and Citrix, right? They're just trying to take money from each other. They need another product. They need another offering, right? And they tried last year. Remember, they tried to buy somebody, and they undid the deal because they figured it was never going to get through. So yeah, I think these are tough names. She's sitting on, but they're not really a growth name. Now, if the market takes off and goes back to all-time highs, it's going to lift all boats, right? But I wouldn't want to be sitting in this one right now. This is not something I see anything in.
Definitely. I think this is definitely a time where we just got to keep watch. I mean, like, I feel like we're dead in the water where I don't feel like the Bulls have full control. I
No.
don't feel the Bears have full control. We're just in the middle. And I think we just need to keep watching what comes out of this. Will we see anything else with the banks? I don't know. I think a little part of it might have been overdone, but you know how it was in that time. I think a lot of people just pretty put it back to history. And when we put it back to history, it can really scare us pretty quickly when
Well,
we're comparing it to, the actual financial crisis, right?
right. This to me is nothing like that. When you have a crisis, typically the banks, the problem is they've had bad loans, right? They've been doing business in a very bad way.
In a
This
bad environment,
Yeah.
right?
This was not that. The big banks are stress test to hell. They have plenty of cash. Yes, do they have the same bonds that Silicon Valley had? They do, but they've hedged the living hell out of them, so they're fine, right? This is the problem was Silicon Valley didn't want to hedge, so they just wanted to keep all the interest for themselves, and they got caught. And it was probably Peter Thiel that accidentally started this pullout on them, and he started taking money from his venture capital fund out to go to do some allocations, and they didn't have the money. Then they had to sell assets at a $1.8 billion loss to cover the amount of money coming out. And then they tried to raise cash into that, and everybody got scared, and then everybody started unwinding and pulling their money out at the same time, right? So I don't think we're going to see that here. SI, Silvergate Capital, which failed, they were a big crypto loaner, right?
Hmm.
That is on its own, just a very risky business, right? So they had risky loans there, and they're done, right? They set it up. They voluntarily are unwinding themselves. The other one, I'm not really sure what happened. This looks like the FDIC just stepped in there preemptively
Yeah.
concerned that there was risk and said, we're just going to shut this down now.
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting too, of how much they can step in. But that's for a whole nother show. I just definitely wanted to talk at least about some opportunities out there. You guys see a lot about what Option Mike is keeping up with, and you guys can keep up with everything that Option Mike does. Go ahead and give him a follow. Keep up with all his action, and check out the YouTube. Right? If you guys haven't checked out the YouTube before, definitely go ahead and check it out. I'll make sure to include that in the bottom. Anything you want to leave off with, Option Mike?
Mitch, can't wait to come back. Guys, be safe out there. I would err on the side of caution right now. I think the market here is a little confused. We have quad witch on Friday, which is always kind of a choppy day to begin with. And if there's going to be more bank problems, they tend to be on weekends. Typically, it was very unusual for the FDIC to step in intraday in the morning like they did. Typically, they come in after the close on Friday and they shut them down. So typically, if there's anything else, you'll look for it over the weekend. If not, we're probably going to be okay with that.
All right. All right. We'll see if we're able to make it through the weekend without another tape bomb. Appreciate you coming on like always. Option Mike, you guys give him the follow. We'll keep up with everything he does. I'll make sure to include his Twitter here and give you guys the link right quick. Let's go ahead and make sure we get this up here. All right. There you guys have it. Go ahead and give him the follow. Let's take a look back into the market. How are we doing now? And that Signature Bank story. That's going to be something I think we'll hear more about as it continues. Look, we're right back towards that 390. We talked about it. Will we make that move back towards 390s? We're right back there. And looking Oxy did bounce. We got close towards the profit take. 59.01, about 30 cents away. It bounced back there to the 60s. So big bounce there. We'll see if this can continue going down. I'm going to swing these oil names. We'll find out on Chevron how that one kept going. That one went to 158.12s, now back to 160. So we'll look to see if this can keep on the downtrend. Can oil keep breaking, or was that just a trap? One thing to keep in mind. We'll find out what happens there. You guys throw up some stocks. We saved a little bit of time for some ticker time. So if you guys got some tickers, throw them up, team. Hit the like. Let's keep going. All right, let's go to some other ones here as we see the close here. The SPY coming back fast here towards 389. How's Tesla? Bouncing a little bit off that 180 level there. Apple's the one that looks strong to me. In the big names, right? Look at this setup. If we could come back, clear 160 on Apple, and look at the weekly setup. Look how the 9 EMA is holding now slightly below the price action, kind of crawling through here towards this kind of, you could say, ascending triangle here. And we're going to look to try to get that break through here, through these levels, right? Through 154, going to 157, 158. We'll look to see if Apple can get back through Friday's high, which was 157.38. If that can happen, yeah, you can get this at least major name to get that nice little break to the upside. We'll find out if Apple can get that push. GDXD. Let's take a look there. Inverse large gold miners. Is this inverse? Yeah, that's interesting. I have yet to see this one. But this one's against, of course, the gold trade, right? So you're going 3 times leverage to the downside. And one thing I would say, hourly chart. Hourly chart on this one keeps it clean. And I think that whenever I trade these leverage trades, I like to look at the hourly chart. It helps me often, right? You can see here how this looks a lot cleaner on the hourly than trading the intraday action. I also do that for like SOX S, right? Like if you look at it on an hourly, it looks a lot cleaner. Today, you can see what? Trend, and then it cracks the support, right? So one thing that I think is very important is with these leverage trades, they love to kind of trend in a certain area, trend on an hourly, right? Well, here you got your opportunity if you wanted to go short this, but to go long it, I think you needed to get back there through that 750, going to the 8. We'll see what happens there on gold miners. And overall, GLD hanging on there. AU hanging on there. GLD hanging on, right? Will these kind of come back down? It could fill the gap a little bit, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Scalps only. I agree. Scalps only on that kind of leverage trade. And also you got to remember rebalancing whenever you're doing the balance. Beard Fishing TV. What program is this? Well, you guys are watching Benzinga. We're doing a little swing trading talk. And I don't mind a little bit of some bearded fishing. Gotta love that life. Gotta check out your channel, my friend. Looks like you got a nice fish there. Is that what we got there? I can't see it in the picture. I need to blow it up. But hey, shout out to you, bearded fish. Appreciate you jumping in today. All right, let's go taking a look here towards the close, what we can get into. You can take a look there. The SPY is actually pushing higher. And so if you think that the bank trade is done and this is all going to come back, we can start taking a shot on maybe some of the bigger banks to the upside. But I'm just not liking taking too many shots. But one thing I can clearly see is JPM trying to recover here. We'll see what happens there. Goldman Sachs, that's trying to recover a little bit. I can think about taking a shot on these, but I think there's just too much downside risk. So I'd rather leave these alone. You can see Deere trying to recover and hold 400. Will we actually get back on some of these names? I think we're just going to have to wait and watch. I mean, there's just so much that's undecided right now. Like, look at XLI. XLI is in the industrials, and this just cracked, but could recover, right? We're right on the support. And so I think there's just a lot of indecision right now with traders, whether to rotate out of the industrials, rotate out of the energy trade. We'll find out. All right, let's keep going. What other ones being mentioned? Haven't started it yet? Come on, man. I'm waiting for the first fish video. You let me know, bearded fish. I'll check it out. It's a snook. Oh, you got to get the snooks. Snooks, hey, those things bite, man. You'll feel them when they hit for sure. Threw it up on one of my charts. We'll spend some time watching it. What you guys watching? VMACD? I built a volume MACD. What, an anchored one or just a volume one? What you doing out there, Walter? You got to let me know if you're doing some indicator building. I'm always down to bring you on. We can talk a little bit about it. All right. As we get here towards the close, you can see we're climbing the wall right back. And so we did get that downturn in those regional banks, but a lot of them turned right back to the upside. So I think you got to now just kind of keep an eye out to see what's going to happen. A lot of indecision still in the banks, but it didn't seem like we got new negative news. So unless we get that new negative news, I think you kind of have to think that it was overblown, overproportionate, overblown there. We'll find out whatever you want to think about it. But overall, we're coming back. Now is just the time. Do you want to take your shot now? That's what you got to be asking yourself. Square trying to bounce back here. We'll see what happens on these names, especially if they can actually come back here and actually start to trend, right? The SPY overall came back there towards the channel and now rejecting to go into the channel. This could be the throwback look for the bulls. That's why I feel like it's so in between right now, between the bears and the bulls, battling for position. And at the end of the day, if we get back to 400, bulls have control. We get back 10 points down below here, let's say through the 380s towards 370, it could very much bears have control. So we'll find out, team. Keep close. Watch the price action every day. Watch to see if there's anything else that comes out of that bank situation. And we'll find out what the FOMC meeting has to say. Russia downed a U.S. drone and the market chilled about it. Interesting, right? Interesting, right? I mean, you would think that that would really cause a true takedown. It hasn't. It just goes to show you that we got to stay on and be flexible with this market, because if not, we all can get crushed at times. All right, we got about 6 minutes left, about 5 or 6 minutes left here, team. So let's keep going. I'm going to take a look to see if there's anything else that I can maybe swing into the close here. All right, so let's go taking a look around MPC. That's Marathon Petroleum. That's kind of another oil play. That is getting a little bit of a bounce back. Where's Valero now? Valero back there to 131.63. If it was in the 133s, I wouldn't mind overnighting it, but we'll find out what happens here. Phillips 66 getting a little bit of a bounce there. You know, one thing I started to notice is, man, Affirm's getting crushed. I think you're going to start seeing Affirm and some concerns and those zombie companies starting to come up. Upstart, zombie company. I think these two are going to go away. Affirm and Upstart. I think they go away. Carvana, what's up with that one? Has that really started to break there? Yeah, it's back down to the 6. This could be going away also, team. We'll find out what happens with these. All right, there's a massive 4.4 on the buy side. That's interesting. Crazy to catch there. Defensive stocks. Let's go to that. Lockheed Martin, right? Well, this one started looking bad, now looking better. And if we're going to have Russia taking out drones, well, doesn't look too bad to maybe risk off the 475 here for the move to 500, right? Doesn't seem too bad there. Let's take a look. I've honestly never traded Lockheed Martin. I don't think I've ever had it for a position just because you can see how wide this kind of moves. Doesn't make sense for me to kind of buy it up here because it can go to 474. But if I'm trying to get a move to 500 or 490, that doesn't seem too bad, right? We'll see how this kind of comes back. This just bounced off of that kind of 475, 440 level, starting to make its way back to the upside. Doesn't look too bad right now. Let's see if I can get a pullback towards 477, 75 or 477 or 488, 478 on that pullback. I don't mind taking a little bit of a shot. Doesn't look too bad there, Lockheed Martin. And right, we could take a look at some different ones here. We don't have to actually take a look only at Lockheed Martin. You can take a look there at NOC. That's starting to make a little bit of an up move, right? That's starting to push back here. GD, General Dynamics, getting a little bit of a push here. LHX, a little bit of a push back here. RTX, that one, of course, hanging on here. Pulled back there to the 95. Now starting to recover. Could come right back towards the 100 and start to push higher. So these all don't look too that they don't look that bad, especially in the defense area. So I don't play too many defensive names, so I'm probably just going to stay out of that Lockheed Martin. But it does look good above the 480s. I'll look tomorrow to see if we can get that 480 break and then a move towards 490s. We'll find out. 4.4 billion, the biggest I can recall this year, this far. Yeah, it's definitely a big buy imbalance, and you're seeing it, right? I mean, look, it's getting paired up here. Nice little big move there, jump there on 391.62s, and you just got a downturn. Look at that Apple push higher. Microsoft, we just talked about it with Option Mike. Option Mike, what is going on? You're killing it, dude. Microsoft, big push there. Google, already pushing the 94.20s. This actually looks pretty decent here on Google to make that push back through the 95 and start pushing out of this kind of little pattern here. Get that close towards 95 and then make a move to 97. Doesn't look too bad there. Cybersecurity, that's going to be like PanW, CrowdStrike. They're holding on. CrowdStrike's actually strong. Look for maybe PanW to catch that bounce going back to 190s. How's Zscaler? That's going down a little bit further. That doesn't look that good there. Sentinel-1, a little bit of a bounce there off the 14. CrowdStrike doesn't look too bad, right? That at least has some relative strength and is pushing a little bit higher here. Pulled back to the 120, back towards the 128. All right, that's going to do it for us today. I hope you guys enjoyed all the action, of course, right here on Benzinga. Smash the like. We'll be back tomorrow with another good guest right here on Start Swing Trading. You guys find out how the oil trade comes. Check me out tomorrow morning, PreMarket Prep. I talk all about these kind of trades, also on live trading. That starts at 9 a.m. Eastern to 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you guys don't watch our live trading stream, well, you're missing out. Today, I was really able to make a good money on FAZ to the upside on a little scalp. So we'll find out if I'm able to scalp that tomorrow. This actually came off of this. I did it from that 23 towards that 23.50. It was a pretty nice little scalp there. That's what saved me on the day trading action and helped me cover a lot of those swing trading losses. Got all those back, was able to take another trade in the oil names, took some profit. We'll find out if we're able to continue to profit into some oil tomorrow. Just taking a look, crude ended there at 71.49, at least the WTI, down about $3.31, 4.4%. Will oil continue down? We'll find out tomorrow. And of course, check me out, team. We'll see you next time. Smash the like on your way out.